Hello, and welcome to my channel, where I mostly share my love of fragrance and enjoying my collection. In this video, I'll be reviewing the new Finery Fragrance brand from Target. Thank you so much for stopping by, and let's get started. A new affordable perfume brand just launched at Target, and it's called Finery Fragrance, and I unfortunately can't find any background information on the brand. It seems to be very popular on TikTok, but I don't use that, so I haven't seen too much detail on the actual scents, which are apparently inspired by popular fragrances. I'm not really a dupe collector. I generally prefer to wait until I can get the original fragrance, but I definitely understand the appeal of affordable alternatives to higher-priced luxury perfumes. The Finery fragrances are now available online and in Target stores, and I purchased 5 of the perfumes and a couple of the body mists. In addition to reviewing the fragrances, I'll also share some comparisons with the scents that I believe inspired them. The perfumes are $28 for 2 ounces and come in glass bottles with plastic caps, and I think they're decent weight and quality for the price. The body mists are $15 for 5 ounces, and they come in taller plastic bottles. And it's a bit hard to see, but all of the bottles are softly rounded on the sides and in the back. The perfumes that I picked up include Not Another Cherry, which I believe was inspired by Tom Ford's Lost Cherry, Magnetic Candy, which I believe was inspired by Byredo's Sundazed, I'm a Musk, which I believe was inspired by Ariana Grande's Cloud, Sweet on the Outside, which I believe was inspired by Billie Eilish's Eilish, and Midnight Café, which I believe was inspired by YSL's Black Opium. For the body mists, I picked up Not Another Cherry, as well as Magnetic Candy. And now let's get on to the reviews. First up is Not Another Cherry, which comes in a dark red bottle and I believe was inspired by Tom Ford's Lost Cherry. And this has notes of wild cherry, Turkish rose, and almond amaretto. And this opens with a lot of cherry, which is a bit sour, and it smells like the cherries were soaked in the boozy amaretto, which also has a nice almondy sweetness to it. The rose is present, but not overwhelming, and it fades slowly into the background over time. As the scent dries, it becomes warmer, with a beautiful powdery sweetness paired with the cherry and almond. And the cherry does take a bit of a back seat to the amaretto in the dry down, but I can still smell the cherry. I think that this is a really pretty fragrance, and with only a couple sprays, it was projecting quite nicely. I do really like this, and I think that the name is amusing, as there have been so many cherry perfumes released in the last year or so. As far as the body mist for Not Another Cherry, it smells basically the same as their perfume, but was much lighter from the start. The notes don't feel as deep, and they're harder to discern from each other. After 30 minutes, the cherry was already fading from the body mist, and it was starting to be a skin scent overall, whereas the scent was still quite strong in the perfume. After an hour, the mist had faded quite a bit, but I could still get whiffs of sweetness and rose if I smelled my arm up close. The perfume was still present 6 hours later, albeit much softer, but the body mist was gone far earlier. Personally, I would choose the perfumes over the body mists, as I think the mists are too expensive for the amount based on the longevity, and the scents smell better and more intense in the perfumes. And now for the inspiration. Tom Ford's Lost Cherry has top notes of bitter almond, liquor, and black cherry, mid notes of sour cherry, plum, Turkish rose, and jasmine sambac, and it has a lot of base notes, including tonka bean, vanilla, benzoin, sandalwood, cloves, and patchouli. And this is one of my favorite perfumes of all time. It's just the most delicious, boozy, almondy cherry, and I understand why everyone tries to dupe it. When I compare it to Not Another Cherry, I do instantly see a similarity. They both open with booze-soaked cherries, and I happen to love the smell of amaretto liquor, so I've always appreciated the boozy note in Lost Cherry. Both scents dry down to sour cherry, with a powdery, almondy sweetness. The sweetness is slightly different though. It's a bit more sugary in Not Another Cherry versus syrupy in Lost Cherry. And as far as strength, I think they seem kind of similar. Lost Cherry was stronger at first, but as it softened, it seemed about on par with Not Another Cherry. I'm not one to easily say that something is a dupe. I've tried some of the purported dupes for Lost Cherry, such as Zara's Cherry Smoothie and Kayali's Lovefest Burning Cherry, and I will say that Not Another Cherry is the closest match to Lost Cherry that I've tried. Every time I open the cap and get a whiff of the scent, it instantly makes me think of Lost Cherry. However, there are subtle nuances in Lost Cherry that I don't feel are in Not Another Cherry. There's a richness and a sharpness to the nutty almond, and it just feels like I'm enveloped in a boozy cherry cloud. But is that difference something that most people who aren't obsessed with fragrance would notice? I think probably not. Although I did have my husband blind test the two scents, and he said that Not Another Cherry was very nice, but that Lost Cherry was amazing. So to sum up, these scents are very close. And if you don't often wear Lost Cherry, I don't know that you would notice much of a difference if you weren't very closely trying to identify the notes. When you look at buying Not Another Cherry for $28 or Lost Cherry for a whopping $390, it can seem like an easy choice to go with Not Another Cherry. I purchased my bottle of Lost Cherry when it was $100 cheaper, and when my bottle runs out, I'll have to find a very good deal in order to repurchase. I do always want to own the original Lost Cherry because I think it's absolutely amazing, but I do feel hesitant to use too much of it because it's so expensive. And I think that I'll feel much more comfortable going ham with Not Another Cherry, and I can save Lost Cherry for special occasions. Next up is Magnetic Candy, which comes in the yellowy orange bottle, and I believe was inspired by Byredo Sundazed. And this has notes of sugared violet, pink pomelo, and cotton candy. And this opens with the violet, and it's sweet and has a subtle powderiness to it. There's also a good amount of the pomelo, and the citrus is bright and a bit sharp. And as it dries, the scent gets warmer, and the cotton candy comes in and adds a lot more sugary sweetness. I end up with a slightly powdery, sugary cotton candy with a soft citrus, and I think that this is a nice, sweet candy scent. And as far as the body mist, same as with Not Another Cherry, I find the body mist to be quite a bit lighter than the perfume. The scents are the same, but the mist feels much softer and the notes just aren't as punchy. And again, personally, I would just opt for the perfume rather than the body mist. I have a few comparisons for Magnetic Candy, starting with Byredo Sundazed, which has top notes of mandarin orange and Californian lemon, mid notes of neroli and jasmine sampback, and base notes of cotton candy and white musk. And this opens with a very strong and sharp citrus, which is predominantly lemon. And the floral note is soft, with a slight powdery feel to it. It dries down with sugary cotton candy, but it retains a good amount of the citrus, which has softened a bit. I find Magnetic Candy to be very similar to Sundazed, but it's not nearly as strong. The citrus stays more present in Sundazed, whereas Magnetic Candy is slightly sweeter. While I have several comparisons, if I had to pick one dupe for Magnetic Candy, it would be Sundazed. However, Magnetic Candy does fade faster than both Sundazed and Not Another Cherry. I had just purchased Sundazed over the holiday, so I'm still getting to know it. But this is one case where I could see purchasing the cheaper alternative rather than the more expensive fragrance, as I find the scents to be very similar. Next I have Kilian's Love Don't Be Shy. This has so many more notes in it, including neroli, bergamot, pink pepper, orange blossom, rose, iris, sugar, vanilla, caramel, and musk. And this is a sweet, candied floral that smells like bubble gum, but with a marshmallowy vanilla quality. It's quite sugary and it smells delicious. Love Don't Be Shy has a lot of sugary cotton candy-like sweetness similar to Magnetic Candy, but it's more floral, and the vanilla brings in a deeper kind of sweetness. Magnetic Candy also has more citrus throughout the life of the scent. So I don't think that these are dupes, but given the price of Love Don't Be Shy, Magnetic Candy could be a nice alternative if you want a fragrance that smells like candy. But personally, I think Love Don't Be Shy is beautiful and worth having in my collection despite the price. And the last comp I have is Prada Candy, which has notes of caramel, powdery notes, musk, benzoin, and vanilla. And note, I have an older bottle, and I've heard that this might have been reformulated, so this could be different depending on the version you have. This is a delicious caramelized vanilla with a powdery quality, and the scent is lightened overall by musk. It also feels warm and resinous from the benzoin, And while Prada Candy has a candied sweetness, it's more of a sugary caramel than a fluffy cotton candy. And there's also no citrus in the scent, so I find it to be different than magnetic candy. Then I have I'm a Musk, which comes in the white bottle and I believe was inspired by Ariana Grande's Cloud. And this has notes of fluffy musk, cotton blossom, and creamy sandalwood. And this opens very light and musky, and it has a cottony, clean laundry feeling to it. It's sweet and warm, and it has a milky quality as well. The sweetness feels almost sugary, and the dry down has a nice soft woodiness. I think that this is a pleasant scent that would be easy to wear, especially around the house, and I like the sweetness, but the scent overall doesn't stand out as anything super special. I also wanted to note that while the sprayer on most bottles was good, this one was kind of leaky, but that's probably just a random issue. And for the inspiration, I have Ariana Grande's Cloud. And this has top notes of lavender, pear, and bergamot, mid notes of whipped cream, praline, coconut, and vanilla orchid, and base notes of musk and woody notes. And Cloud is probably an inspired fragrance as well for Maison Francis Kurkdjian's Baccarat Rouge 540. And it's a lovely, sweet, fluffy, lactonic cloud. It's musky and woody with a nice creamy coconut. When I compare this with I'm a Musk, they're both light and musky, but I feel like they have quite a bit of difference. Cloud has the lavender and bright bergamot, and the scent overall feels like it has a depth that I'm a Musk doesn't. While I'm a Musk seems a bit sweeter, it doesn't have the nutty sweetness from the praline in Cloud, and it also has more of a fresh linen feel, whereas Cloud is like a fluffy lactonic cloud. I don't think that these are dupes, but I do see how Cloud could have been part of an inspiration for I'm a Musk. Cloud isn't that much more expensive, but I feel like the scents are different, so you could potentially own both. I don't know if Finery was maybe going for something more like BR 540 or Ariana Grande's Thank You Next or Commodity Milk, but I'm a Musk doesn't seem like a straight dupe for any of those, but rather a combination of those types of scents. Next is Sweet on the Outside, which comes in a dark gray bottle, and I believe was inspired by Billie Eilish's Eilish. And this has notes of Madagascar vanilla, cacao wood, and smoked vetiver. And this opens with a cool, almost minty feeling. I also get a lot of vanilla with some hints of chocolate. And as it dries, it gets warmer. And I also pick up some earthiness from the smoked vetiver. And I end up with a warm, woody vanilla with hints of powder and spice. I think that this is an okay scent, but it's not my favorite kind of vanilla. I prefer something sweeter and more sugary, like Victoria's Secret's Wicked or Kayali's Vanilla 28. And for the inspiration, I have Billie Eilish's Eilish, which has top notes of sugar, red berries, and mandarin orange, mid notes of vanilla, cacao, and rose, and base notes of tonka bean, amber, musk, and woody notes. And this opens with a cool mintiness that I personally don't care for. But as that fades, I start to get a warm, woody, ambery vanilla. It's very sweet, and there's hints of chocolate at times, as well as a good amount of spice. I don't really like vetiver, and I feel like it's kind of strong and earthy in this scent. When I compare this with Sweet on the Outside, I find them to be a similar warm, woody vanilla that feels dark. But Eilish has much more spice, and is overall stronger and more earthy. The vanilla in Eilish also feels deeper and more syrupy. I do hate the bottle for Eilish though, so Sweet on the Outside wins in that respect. And the last scent is Midnight Café, which comes in a dark purple bottle and I believe was inspired by Yves Saint Laurent's Black Opium. And this has notes of creme de café, jasmine absolute, and patchouli. And this opens with a lot of sweet jasmine, as well as a strong creme de café note. And creme de café is coffee-flavored liqueur, so it's more boozy than a straight coffee or latte-like scent. And as this dries, I feel like I'm getting a lot of patchouli, which brings in an earthiness. And I have to say, I don't really love this one. I think it's the creme de café note that's kind of off-putting to me, and I feel like the patchouli is also a bit strong for my taste. Also note, my bottle came a bit damaged and was leaking, so the label is a bit discolored. And for the inspiration, I have YSL's Black Opium, which has top notes of pear, pink pepper, and orange blossom, mid-notes of coffee, jasmine, bitter almond, and licorice, and base notes of vanilla, patchouli, cashmere wood, and cedar. And when I wear this, I'm instantly hit with a realistic coffee scent. I don't always like coffee notes, but this one is really rich and sweet. The florals complement the coffee well, and the vanilla and almond add syrupy and nutty sweetness. There's other similar scents to this, such as Dolce & Gabbana's The Only One, but I think Black Opium was probably the inspiration for Midnight Café. I don't find the scents to be that similar, as Black Opium has the straight coffee note, and Midnight Café has that coffee liqueur that I don't care for. I also find the floral note in Midnight Café to be a bit harsh, whereas Black Opium's floral is soft and pretty. And Black Opium also has the added vanilla and almond sweetness. I don't find these scents to be super similar and prefer to stick with Black Opium. There are a few other scents in the Finery line that I didn't pick up, including Flower Bed, which has notes of lush peony, green apple, and wild bamboo leaf, and I believe was inspired by Chanel's Chance, as well as Sun-phoria, which has notes of Monoi blossom, orange flower, and amberwood, which I believe was inspired by Tom Ford's Soleil Blanc. And then there's Before the Rainbow, which has notes of salty air, bergamot, and tree moss, and I believe was inspired by Jo Malone's Wood Sage and Sea Salt. And lastly, Jungle Santal, which has notes of papyrus wood, Indian cardamom, and black oolong tea, and I believe was inspired by Le Labo's Santal 33. Overall, I enjoyed trying the Finery fragrance line and would recommend giving it a try, as there are a few scents that stood out to me. I have to say that Not Another Cherry is the clear winner, and I also really like Magnetic Candy. Both are very close to their inspiration scents, and good alternatives if you want a similar scent at a much more affordable price. I'm a Musk is kind of in the middle for me. I don't find it too similar to what I believe it was inspired by, but I definitely want to try it out some more. Sweet on the outside is just okay, and Midnight Café would be on the bottom for me. And both don't really stand up to their inspirations, and I don't know if I'll reach for those much. Let me know what you think of Finery Fragrance and which scents you're interested in trying. Thank you for watching. I hope that you'll subscribe, and I'll see you in my next video.